Pickups, pickups, pickups. When I started off with music, I mostly played drums and bass. That was like my thing. I love the drums, I love the bass. I was like in a band with my friends. It wasn't that crazy. If you did that like me, you probably don't know much about customizing or switching out stuff from your electric guitar besides putting like your favorite band sticker on there. You could customize your guitar knobs, change the pick guard, put colored strings, don't do that. And yes, change the pickups. I never thought much of changing my own pickups for my guitar. I always thought, yeah, they look pretty good. But apparently guitarists have more options for a variety of pickups than I initially thought, which is pretty cool. Of course, that didn't matter to me when I first got my first electric guitar. I had no need to change the sound and I was happy with the way it was. I got my first electric guitar to be a Fender Stratocaster, thanks to my GOAT Mac DeMarco, my favorite artist, no one else's. And I didn't really care about like an exact replica of the Fender that to be just like Mac DeMarco's. I still wanted that guitar to have like its own feel and like to feel like mine, but being a Fender Stratocaster was honestly enough for me to feel like, yeah, that's Mac DeMarco. Oh, I need to get the book. Cut! Alright, that's the first section. Whatever, it's not that good. I was already a fan of the Strokes back when I got my Fender, but I got back into them after I read The World Is Gonna Love This by Gordon Raphael. Look, that's him. That's Gordon Raphael. Great read for someone who wants to know what it was like to work with the Strokes and give them that tone that they were honestly most famous for. But I honestly got into this book because I thought it would make me the ultimate master at how to sound like the Strokes is this it era. But that's not really what this book is for. This book is more of an in-depth look in Gordon's life before, during, and after his time with the Strokes. I mean, you gotta think about it. Is This It was a big breakthrough for the Strokes, and that applied to Gordon Raphael as well. He's the producer. So it makes sense why that's a good chunk of the story and not just, yeah man, to capture the vocals, I used 2 layers of compressors and a gain of about 3 decibels, and then I made sure not to boost the 1K hertz. Yeah, that's not the book. Either way, Gordon really helped the Strokes make history in the rock genre, and I'm still a fan of the Strokes and Gordon, that this was a very fun read, even if it didn't give me what I thought exactly what I was gonna get into. Probably give the book like an 8.5. I'm biased. I like the Strokes at a 10. I'm not a book reviewer. Yeah. Anyways, that book was the main reason I got into the Strokes again last year, and I ended up treating myself last year as well as a result by getting myself an Epiphone Riviera Frequencator tailpiece, so it looked like Nick's Epiphone. And yeah, I could have bought his signature guitar that's probably like on Reverb or Guitar Center if I was rich. Apparently that tailpiece, by the way, is supposed to put more tension on the strings to provide a more sharper tone. A longer stretch on the bass strings made them more deeper, and a shorter stretch on the treble made them more brilliant. And I'll be honest, I don't even know what deeper and brilliant truly sounds or means, so I just wanted to look like Nick. So yeah, I got my Epiphone Riviera on Reverb, pretty cheap. I think it was about $600. Future me, fact check that. So yeah, I was really happy with the purchase. I thought it was close enough to Nick's guitar that I had the essentially soul and spirit of it, and it looked great. And I think it was pretty close to perfect. And wait, what is that?
Line. That's quite important to note.
What is that?
And in a long time, we've had Union Jack versions of it, versions
what
of
is that?
P90s, a few different sort of variations on the theme, but
I did not like these pickups. Yeah, these are mini humbuckers. They're supposed to provide a warmer, apparently more vintage sound compared to single coils that are like on my Fender, but they aren't as warm as a full-size humbucker, which apparently does sound more full. TLDR, these things are actually pretty cool for classic rock, and I actually did like how they sounded with my guitar when it came with it. I just did not like how they looked at all. I mean, Nick has these really cool P94s on his Epiphone, and I think they do. What the hell are P94s? They are P90s the size of humbuckers. Okay. Wait, what the hell are P90s? P90s are a type of single coil pickup Gibson developed. Okay, so you're telling me Nick Valencia had a 1995 Epiphone Rivera that Albert apparently gave him, took out the full-size humbuckers, and replaced those with hot-wired P94s? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so one problem, my Epiphone has mini humbuckers. Yeah, I didn't do my research before I bought it. Okay, so I basically had 3 choices when I got this guitar. 1, return it. Okay. Pre-owned items are sold as is, sales final. 2, cut out big enough holes on the pickups to fit the size of full humbuckers, and then look for those very rare pickups online. I'm not doing that. Or 3, go to a website that makes P90 style pickups that are mini humbucker sized. Close enough, right? I know it's not exactly the same. They're much smaller, but I think they look pretty cool. And honestly, it's much better than the mini humbuckers in my opinion. This process was brutal, by the way. I almost ended it after I tried to install these things myself, and by the end of the day, I couldn't even do it. I mean, I even got my cousin to help me, and he's soldered pickups before, but we just couldn't figure it out. One minute it would be working, and then the next minute it wouldn't, and it just wasn't worth it. Did you know these guitars hate you, by the way? These guitars don't have like a back port that you could unscrew so you could easily work on the electronics. You have to go through these little tiny holes right here to get these things out and work on the pickups. I thought those holes were decorative. You're telling me I actually gotta move stuff inside there? Fender literally makes this process 10 times easier for you. You're almost encouraged to like switch out the pickups because it's so damn easy, at least easier than this. So after my attempted DIY of changing these pickups myself, I called my local music store and they did it for me. For $100. So after all of that, I could finally play like Nick Valenci. Okay, so ever since I got these pickups, I actually did want to kind of test if they sounded that much different from the mini humbuckers I had here previously. So the plan today is we're going to play along to 5 different stroke songs, very fitting for today's theme of trying to look like Nick Valenci. I already recorded the small parts of the 5 songs with the mini humbuckers months ago. Even if I did remember and recorded the settings for each of those songs, which honestly isn't even that much work, I don't know why I didn't do that. I remember when I got this back from the music shop, I had the settings on my amp and pedals the exact same because I did have the video in mind. Mini walnuts. All right, I'm actually here to just cut myself completely off from what past me is about to say right now. This is future me talking, if that's not clear. Long story short, I originally had the idea of doing the comparison with honestly 2 different tones on the pedals that I had. The old one that I had for the mini humbuckers had some pedals settings that sounded good with that pickup. But when I got the new mini P90s, I had the settings all over the place because I thought those would sound better than what it had been originally with the other ones. Okay, so the thought process back then was simply due to the fact that when I first got the mini P90s on my Epiphone, when I tried the settings that I had that I was using on the pedals for the mini humbuckers, it didn't sound good. It sounded like shit.
My life be like 21. Hey bro, you got a phone call.
But while I was editing this video, it felt kind of wrong to like make this a comparison when I'm essentially have like 2 different completely tones to compare to what I used on the mini humbuckers to the mini P90s. It didn't feel fair at all. So I decided to actually make this a fair comparison by having everything almost exactly the same. The amp, from what I remember, the pedals, and everything I used in Logic compared to what I was gonna do originally, which was gonna mix up the pedal settings just a little bit. For my surprise, when I put the settings on the pedals that I used for the mini humbuckers, it actually sounds pretty good. And now this is where I'm actually to tell you what I will be using and what I did use for the mini humbuckers. Okay, first to start off with pedals. I'm only using 3 pedals. The first one is a Jekyll and Hyde overdrive. I think it's the version 2, I believe. Future me, fact check that. I only have the overdrive side on with these settings that you'll see right now. And I do turn on and use that distortion side for solos or specific parts of the songs. I believe I only use them for the first 4 songs. So the last 2 songs don't have any distortion at all. Yeah. I also have a compressor. It's called the sandwich compressor. It looks pretty cool. I use that one too. I just like how it sounds. And yes, I have it at the end of my pedal board, even though some people say you shouldn't, but I like the sound. And the only type of backing track I'm really using is just a drum pedal. And this is just gonna be a drum pedal with my guitar over it, with some variation of the song that I'm covering. Okay, now for the amp. I'm using a Fender Champion 40, and the settings that I'm using are 7 on the treble, 7 on the bass, and my volume is at 3, and I'm just adjusting the microphone, which I'm using is an AT2020, by the way. I'm just adjusting the gain on that so that it's not bass boosting everything. In Logic, all I'm using is some small EQ. If I don't use EQ, it sounds like this. So yeah, since the bass is so high on the drum pedal, I'm just decreasing that bass and increasing everything else on the right. For pickup settings, those are staying the same between the comparisons. If in the past I used the neck pickup for a certain song, I'm going to do that same pickup for the P90. Even though I feel like some songs would sound better on certain pickup settings, I'm just going to follow through with what I use for the mini humbuckers for the sake of consistency. So with all that being said, that's everything you need to know for the comparisons. And now you can actually finally see the footage. Whoa. Future Izzy here. I forgot to mention a little tweak I did for the comparison. I may have flipped up the audio a bit. I don't know why, but for the mini humbuckers, the bass is just really high for some reason. I don't know if it's my mic placement, my amp was just really loud. I genuinely don't remember. So when I use that exact same Logic settings for the P90s, it made it sound super flat. It did not sound good. It sounded bad. So when I noticed this, I realized I actually had to increase the bass a little bit after I already recorded all the P90 footage. So yeah, in Final Cut Pro, I am increasing the bass by a little bit, shown here. And it's genuinely because I don't know why the bass was so high when I filmed the mini humbuckers before. I don't know. I usually keep my bass in treble at 7, like I said, and it had a very high bass. But they sound pretty good. I mean, now it sounds pretty fair in my opinion. But yeah, go back, bye. All right, gang, that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Wow. That comparison was awesome, right? I loved it. So yeah, after that whole comparison, I do think they sound pretty different, honestly. The P90s seem to be more naturally distorted, which makes sense, I mean, they're hot wired, than the mini humbuckers. The mini humbuckers sounded more, I don't know, warm, toned down, a little more full, I guess. And neither are bad. Both are honestly pretty good. I like both of them, honestly. And I mean, at the end of the day, music is just personal preference. I mean, you could like either or. For me, I'm obviously happy with the P90s. I like how it sounds, and I especially like how it looks. Until I have the courage to actually like make bigger holes into my Epiphone and get like actual like P94s or whatever, big P90s or whatever, then I'll actually do that. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it. One thing I do want to mention though before I let you guys go is that you don't need what your favorite artist uses in order to sound like your favorite artist. I think it takes a little more than, ooh, the Strokes use the Jekyll and Hyde pedal, I gotta use that if I want to sound like them. Or, ooh, Mac DeMarco uses the Fender Vibro Champ, I gotta use that if I want to record like him. No. You actually need to practice what you use. And I'm saying this because I had this mindset for a while. This whole video has been me talking about how I wouldn't get really the exact items that my favorite artist would use, but something in the middle, the Epiphone, the pedal, and to some extent the pickups. At one point, I genuinely thought that getting these pieces of equipment would make me sound like the Strokes. But as time passes, I'm just realizing it's more, I'm getting better at what I have. I'm getting better at what I'm using, which is what is making me sound better. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get the same pieces of equipment as your favorite artist. I mean, if you want this pedal that makes you think that's what you need to sound like Maroon 5 or something, I mean, go for it. I guess I'm more or less saying you don't need that. Lately, I've also just been happy buying the cheaper brand pedals or getting stuff off Reverb or getting used cymbals and stuff. They all still sound very good. I'm not saying don't get something really cheap and unusable like a acoustic guitar with high action, you know, just enough to not go broke. But yeah, I'm just saying that because I went down that rabbit hole last year, and I am happy with all the stuff that I do have. But if you actually watch this whole video and actually think I sound pretty close to the Strokes, or I at least have a very good tone, it's not because of the stuff I bought. It's honestly because of how I learned how to use the stuff I had. If I didn't have these pedals or these guitars, I have a bunch of stuff that I could use on Logic. I mean, everybody does. Logic has so many things that you could sound like almost any artist now. Okay, yeah, that wraps up the pickup journey. The pickup journey for the mini humbuckers and for the P90s. And how do I end the video?